Hey folks, Damian Mason here. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Do Business Better podcast. Got a great show for you today. As always, we're going to give you information, inspiration, ideas you can use to apply to your own life and business and have, ultimately, a life and business by choice and achieve longevity. I've got a guest today that is a friend of the show. She was in episode 3 and episode 43. Her name is Lisa Hudson of Fitness by Design. She has been running a successful personal training company in Indianapolis, Indiana for 31 years with her husband. She is part of that for the last 29 years. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Damian. It's great to be here.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is something that's really the bane of many business owners' existence. I'm talking about employees, okay? I don't have employees. I have my wife, Lori. I have had employees before. I do contract workers. I struggle with this. It is what I call the curse of the self-employed. The curse of the self-employed is a couple of things. First off, self-employed folks are so good at doing their own thing and so independent that they decide that they can't have other people doing stuff on their behalf, or they're not good at managing employees. Also, the curse of the self-employed is the more successful you become, the busier you become, and it's hard to then replicate yourself. You don't have that issue. You have, say, a dozen employees. You've had more than that at different times in your existence. So we're going to talk today, dear listeners, about everything involved with employees. Lisa, 29 years you've been involved with Fitness by Design. It's a tough business, as we talked about in episodes 3 and 43, because every day somebody's coming along trying to take you out of business. You know, there's Gold's Gym, there's 24-hour fitness, there's LA Fitness, there's kettlebells, there's cross training, there's all these new trends. There's yoga, there's goat yoga, there's hot yoga, there's cold yoga, Bikram yoga, all this stuff. And you there just keep on chugging along. So you've got a good war story, I think.
Well, thanks, Damian. We've been in business for like you said, a lot of years. Business has changed over the years. You've got to stay in front of your customer and give your customer what they expect and what they want, which we have been able to do for a long time. And part of that success is finding the right people. Employees can come and go. We have different employees that come in to us that we know will probably be a short-term employee just because they have other goals. Personal training is maybe a way to get them through to further their schooling. They may be through personal training type education, and they know that they want to go and do occupational therapy, so they've got to go back to school for that. So this may be a transition time for them to earn some money for a couple of years before they get back into school. So we've got that type of employee. We've got an employee also that's been with me for the long haul, 25 plus years.
Yeah, dear listener, the big thing here, or viewer, I should point out, that we're also putting this on video now, and we'll be getting even more and more advanced with our production on that. So if you're listening, you can also view this on the new playlist within YouTube. I'd love you to subscribe. Go to Damian Mason. Just go to YouTube and just search Damian Mason. You'll find my channel. I'd love for you to subscribe. Please do so, and you can check out all of my great commentary besides playlists or YouTube. That are podcasts. But the big goal here is to talk about employees. So she's talking about, first off, understanding that you've got two kinds of employees, and especially in a business that you might call more I don't know, you've got the transient, they're coming there for a year because they're going to school. They're going there for a couple of years. And then you've got the long haul employee. You have both. It's not bad that you admit that. Maybe you don't tell your employees that, but you know you've got some that are going to be there for 10 years, and you've got some that are going to be there for 10 months.
Right. Exactly.
All right, so you've got about a dozen employees. You've got a successful business. You run it with your husband. It gets to be very obvious that you can't build what you want to build by you two doing everything. So you say, yep, we got to have these employees. What's it like working with your spouse and also managing employees? Do they pit you against one another?
I wouldn't. Yeah, well, they come to me. They know they use me as the go-between. My husband is the great visionary of our company, and he has his specific role. And so, on the employee side, I'm a little more approachable. My technique and the way I handle employees is a little more approachable than my husband is. And so they've learned over the years, and I've taken on the role of being more of a manager of the employees than he is. And so...
So the people just kind of have to figure that out. You didn't tell them, hey, I'm the approachable go-between, and he's the visionary and kind of an asshole. You didn't do that.
We didn't do that, no.
But that's kind of what they figured out.
That's what they figure out, and usually the new ones coming on, if they've been... they're going to hear from the ones that have been there for a while. If you want something, if you need to talk to somebody about something, you might want to talk to Lisa first. Run it by her first.
I understand.
Get her on board, and then we can approach her.
So you certainly didn't put that together on the flow chart, organizational chart as they call it. You just kind of came up with that. All right, tell me about hiring. I am very bad at this. Again, I'm self-employed. I've got the curse of the self-employed where I want to do it myself. I've been used to doing it by myself. My wife works with me. We've had employees before on a contractual basis. I just always assume that once you just say, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's how we do it, then we go. And apparently that's not good management. I don't do a lot of hand-holding. I'm not sure that... I'm pretty good at explaining big picture what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. What I don't understand is how someone needs to be told, after I've shown you how to take a stamp and put it on an envelope, do I have to show you that again 17 times? I always think to myself, holy shit, I showed you how to put a stamp on an envelope, so this time I just said, yeah, send that out, assuming you would know it requires sticking a stamp on an envelope. That's my problem as an employer. Uh-huh. What am I doing wrong? What are other people doing wrong? What are you doing wrong?
Well, I think that a way to do it better is to have systems in place where the person actually gets some regular and schooling, training on expectations are very clear, and then giving them, and that way they kind of have a path of how they want to, of how they're expected to perform and how they're expected to go. So systems in place are good.
My struggle is always that how many times we need to revisit this system. At some point, shouldn't I just be able to say send that out means I don't need to go through the thing again and tell you, for Christ's sakes, you take a stamp, you put it on. Yeah,
each person is going to be different in regards to that. So right. Some employees are going to get it right away, or maybe get it the first couple tries, and other employees, you'd be amazed at how many times you have to go over it with them. But they may be good at other things. So, and if they're not, then eventually part ways. But yeah.
All right. So things that I get wrong, I don't have systems. I also don't have patience. I don't have compassion. I basically don't have anything. So I'm a shitty employer. But You've had a lot of employees. You have employees that stay with you. You have them come over to your house at Christmas time. You apparently have a good relationship with them. What are you doing right?
Building relationships with them. And we spend a lot of time with our employees during the day. I mean, they're there early in the morning, and they run a split shift usually, and then the busy ones are there in the evening. And so we spend a lot of time around our employees.
Now that's good. There's also a struggle. Relationship can't mean buddy-buddy, because then there's this thing of, I didn't show up, but I figure we're buddies. What difference does it make?
Yeah, it's never, that's never how I set the course. So they understand that I'm an employer, but we can have a good relationship on a daily basis. And if they want buddies, they've got all kinds of employees to be friends with. And frankly, we're there so much during the day that they don't need my friendship at the end of the day.
They don't need that. Okay, hiring. People come in the door, they heard about you, they drove by and saw your facility, or someone told them about it. How do you go about hiring?
We've done it a few different ways. The more methods you have out there, I think the more successful you're going to be in getting a different pool of employees. But I've done everything from directly to university-type fairs, and then contacting universities upon students just graduating and get people, potential employees that way. That's been very successful because there are several good universities right around me that offer very good programs for personal trainers. And then another thing that I've also utilized here fairly recently is going through LinkedIn and searching that way. And that way I can be a little more specific about what I'm looking for. And then I get people that will respond back. And that's how I got one of my most recent employees, actually.
Okay. Your people, then, tell me about the mistake. Tell me a mistake you made. You brought in somebody because I'm guessing somebody was highly recommended by somebody, and you said sure, even though you knew deep down it wasn't going to be a fit. You've got certainly a story.
Oh,
like that.
certainly. You do have stories like that, and I think what gets you in the worst trouble is waiting too long to look, and then you're in a pickle. You need somebody, and you don't have enough time to vet the right person.
Yeah, I the few times that I've been that way where my business was going crazy, I needed somebody just to be a support person. I'm like, my God, I just need somebody to take the heat off of Damian Mason, and then you're just struggling, scrambling, and then you find someone that can't replicate tomorrow how to put the stamp on the envelope that you showed them yesterday and the day before. So you wait too long to fill the hopper, but then also you don't want to hire before you need to when you're a small business, because that's money going out the door that could be profit.
That's true. That's a difficult formula, and I don't know that there's a magic. I don't think there's a magic formula for it.
You have always somebody in waiting, or you always have a few people that you'd like to. Because at some point they don't need the job anymore. They went and got hired.
True. I think we have someone right now that we can bring someone on. We're at a point in our business where it's good, where we can bring someone on. They don't have to be 100% busy right away, and then we can work them into the system. It hasn't always been that way, but I tell you, this way is tends to be a lot more successful for us if we've got just a little bit of wiggle room there. So we do tend to hire somebody a little bit prior to when we absolutely have to have them, and just to get them on board, get them ready, figure out if it's going to be a good fit or not. And then we've got some time to make some changes if we need to.
Another mistake, not firing. So
Yes.
I hear this from business people, and I had it myself. I put it in my book, Do Business Better. I talked about one disaster I had. This person was so confrontational and incompetent and had basically lied about their capabilities. Then it got to where everything was a confrontation. So I said, I just don't know what to do. And eventually a smart person said to me, I said, I don't want the headache of firing this person. They said, well, you have the headache for not firing the person. And that was pretty clairvoyant for somebody that just gave me that observation. It's a headache. It's a headache. It's a headache. All right. Tell me about your firing people.
Firing people is still difficult for me because I'm the softer person, I suppose. But I would agree. I would agree.
So you make Rob do the firing?
Well, no, we both work as a team on that.
You team up on firing.
We team up on firing. No, we haven't had to fire anybody. I mean, it doesn't happen on a really regular basis. So, that's just something that has to be approached few and far between, thankfully.
Yeah, all right. Then you've got a situation where you've got good employees, and then you've got the one employee that's not really needing fired, but is also kind of a turd. And then there's the thing of, if I don't do something about the turd, then the turd weights down.
You've got to, you've got to be ahead of you've got to be able to see that and to be able to nip that in the bud, because that we have done that in the past where we've just let a person hang on that just festers problems, brings down the whole team, and so that's not good for anyone, and it's not fair to the employees that are doing so well for you. So
one thing that always strikes me, because I am self-employed and I have been for a long time, although I point out there's no such thing as self-employment. I work for clients, and the clients have the money that pay me. So, but I don't work in a organization with 100 folks that show up there every day from 8 to 5 or whatever. It always amazes me how petty folks are, that they just can't get along and just do the work. We got a really nice compliment this summer. We had a gal working for us in a contractual arrangement, and Ms. Nicole said, you know what I like about working with you and Lori? As I come here and we just chat a little bit, and then you just say, okay, I got to get to work. And you said, you just go to work. None of this. I said, yeah, none of the politics, none of the he's sleeping with her and she's done this and she called me a bitch and blah, blah, blah. And you buy my kids candy for the baseball team. I said, nope, none of that. It's just work. The politics and the drama. Does it happen even with a dozen employees?
Well, it can if you have people in there that want to contribute to that. Yeah. And those are the type of people that you need to kind of nip in the bud. Nip it in the bud if they're that way, because it does. It brings down the rest of the staff if you've got a lot of that kind of thing going on.
You have a situation that most employers don't. You cut money back to some of your employees for bringing in revenue. Part of their job is as personal trainers is they bring clientele that they work out with and do the classes with, and then they know that because they brought them in, that's how your revenue is generated. Then you cut them back in. How many of your employees get some money for bringing in clientele?
Everyone can get a referral bonus for bringing in clientele.
Okay,
that's straight across the board.
Okay,
that's. If you bring somebody in, you get a cut of that. It depends upon the employees. Some employees, like I said, we've grown to a point where an employee could be on a salary until they get up to a point where we can cut them over to commission just to be able to bring somebody on board and get them a comfortable living situation. And also that allows me to get coverage for the rest of my employees for taking vacation and things like that. So we have a couple different ways we can do employment, and we have part-time employment and full-time employment.
Okay, and so when people come to you, do they know what they want, or do you tell them what they're going to get? I'm looking for this. I would like a job where I come in here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. because I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also have an exercise physiology degree, and I used to work for LA Fitness, but
right.
Here
it can go. But we've done both ways. Someone may come in and they may have some stipulations on time parameters and things like that, and there may be someone that we need, and we can fill those time slots and be happy with that. And then there's another time if I'm paying someone's salary, then they're going to be there when I need them to be there.
All right, Lisa, I'm a small business owner. I need to get better at this. So you're an expert. I need to hire some people. What do I need to know? I need to hire a person. What do I need to know? I've never hired a person. I've got a landscaping company or a dry cleaners, and my husband and I work really hard on this business, but we know we've grown enough. We need an employee. We're going to hire some staff. What's your first piece of advice?
My first piece of advice is either to go like I did with universities or with organizations that certify people in your area. Good. And that's a great way to get in the door of people that are just getting ready to finish up, or maybe they've graduated. You can get complimentary lists of people to send out. Hey, we're looking to employ. Take a look at us. That's a great way to go about it to get started. There are so many profiles that we haven't even looked at that online that they can do these days,
right?
Within those parameters as well. So
okay, so you just told me how to go about. Then what do I ask these people when they show up? My thing would be, are you going to steal from me, you little son of a bitch? If you steal from me, the guns come out, and that's probably not what I should do in an interview, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
You try to get to know them, and you let them get to know you. You let them ask you a lot of questions. You have a good idea. You need to have a good idea as to what you're looking for in that employee in that position. You need to have it figured out.
Sure, and that always varies a little bit. That's the thing. So you're really saying, is it job description or is it outcome? I think maybe because we get hung up on what's the job description,
it's
but I would say what I want is here's what I want the result to be.
Mm-hmm. We have to be outcome oriented because our employees are paid a lot on commission, and so.
So you say, here's the deal. If you start with us, we want you to bring in 2 new clients a week.
Yeah, we set up goals and we meet and go over, see if they're meeting those goals or why are they not meeting the goals? Is there something else we could be doing to help them?
How do you set compensation? Do I say, hey, here's what I think you're worth? I say, here's what I think the goal, because you don't have you don't necessarily know what they're paying over at LA Fitness, or maybe you do.
We have a general idea of what the market's doing,
right.
And we kind of go from that, and then it has to be based upon what you can afford and what's fair, and there's more than just the paycheck.
So you sell that a little bit. You say, hey, we might be 10% under what you could make somewhere else, but remember, we think we're a great place to work. We've got a really good camaraderie here. It's a beautiful facility, and also you have a chance to get a bonus by bringing in people. Is that what you do?
Yeah, we do that, and also I think they get a little. They're not going to have somebody completely over them all of the time checking their work.
So you sell them a little bit on the autonomy?
On the autonomy. We need an independent person, a little bit of an independent person that's going to come and work for me, because I don't want to be on top of them.
Right.
And then the other thing is, too, is that we're a little bit different in that the owners are always on premises.
Yeah, you're always there.
We're always there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
If they want that, but as you said, then unless they think that's going to be stifling, but you just said that's not your leadership style. How do I go about firing people? I wasn't good at it. I wanted to send her a text, or then sometimes I was so enraged I thought I might just do physical violence threat. I don't know, but how do you go about firing people?
And you got to do a face-to-face.
Yeah, and then you sit down, and a friend of mine seems to do a method where he sells them on it. He keeps telling them why that they probably know it's not working out.
And I think that's very smart. They're going to know by the time you have that sit down. They're going to have some sort of. It's not the first time you've had to go and have a discussion with the person,
right?
So they should have some understanding of this isn't working out for us anymore. Obviously, it's not working out for you anymore. Let's part ways.
All right. Her name is Lisa Hudson. We just talked about hiring. We talked about firing. We talked about how she goes about locating employees. We talked about disasters. We talked about mistakes. Talked about things you've done right. Talked about some of the things you do to sort of get the right people in there and what you offer besides just the compensation. Other thoughts, advice on being an employer?
I think that...
What have you learned in 29 years of employing lots of different people?
People generally, they want to do a good job for you. They generally do. And you can tell the ones that are just in it for themselves. You get a good understanding. I mean, kind of go with your gut a little bit on that. And just communicate. Communication is key with your employees.
So that's your closing advice, communicate. And then when you have a turd,
then don't hesitate. You got to get rid of them sooner rather than later.
Okay. I think that's all fairly good advice. If these people want to connect with you, they can find you. It's called FBD Indy, right? Fitness by Design. Tell me how to find you, just for the fun of it.
You can look on us by the web, fbdindy.com.
There might be somebody that says, hey, I want to talk to you some more about this because you're so good at it. Because I think that most small business people that I talk to, it is the absolute biggest thorn in their side, the biggest hassle they have is employee management and hiring new people.
It's difficult. It's been one of the most difficult parts of my job, I have to say. But also, it can be very rewarding. I've had people that have been with me for 25 years.
And they probably
19
years. It does you a lot of
12
good.
years.
It does you a lot of good to have them.
It does.
And they say positive things about you.
They do. And
good deal. Her name's Lisa Hudson. Check her out. She's like I said, past episode guest, episode 3 and episode 43. She's got smart stuff to say, and she always thinks that she doesn't. I say you have been very successful in this business, and you make a great guest. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, Lisa.
All right. Thank you.
Till next time, it's the Do Business Better podcast.